What is up, y'all? It's your girl Kayla, and we are back with yet another video. Y'all already know before we even get into this video, if you are new here, welcome. And if you're returning here, welcome. I appreciate every single one of y'all that tune into these videos each and every week. I do want to say before we even get into this video, if you do have any kind of questions, whether it's something I've talked about it or not, please always put it down in the comment box down below because I do check them and I am more than happy to answer those questions. And as long as it's not like invasive, but if it's fertility related, things like that, I'll be more than happy to answer that for you. And if it's going to be a longer answer, I will definitely make a video for it because ultimately, these are questions everybody has, and not everybody is able to ask or comfortable to ask. So please always put that in the comment box down below. Now, my hair is lopsided, and I'm not doing it. All right. So, y'all, today we're going to be talking about tracking ovulation. I get this question quite frequently, actually, for the past year since I did start, whether it's from people in comment sections or just people that I know personally that are trying to conceive as well. How am I tracking my ovulation? How should they track their ovulation? I found out that some people don't even know how to track their periods until they're much older, if they ever do find out. So this is very, very helpful for you tracking it. Now, whether you want to get pregnant or not, it's always great to know how to track your ovulation. That way, if you're not trying to get pregnant, you know what days that you need to wear protection if you choose not to wear protection, or just days not to be sexually active. Or if you are trying to get pregnant, you know which days are your most fertile and have the highest chances. So, so basically that's that. I will say that we will be talking about CM, which, trigger warning, cervical mucus. I know people don't like the M word, but I do want to talk about the different phases of it and how you're tracking. Personally, for me, because I decided not to visit or stay with my reproductive endocrinologist, I track it myself. So I don't have a fertility center tracking my ovulation. And so, because sperm is very expensive and I don't just have a male partner to donate whenever I need, I have to be very meticulous about when I'm having my IUI. So, what I do is what is it, 3 or 4 ways? I check my ovulation 3 ways. So, one, I use a basal body temperature thermometer. Two, I use ovulation strips. And three, I also track my cervical mucus. And I guess you could say technically four, I have a period tracking app. I use Flow in case you're curious. And yeah, so that's how I track it. So for the basal body temperature thermometer, it's different from a regular thermometer because it does come with the two other decimal points. So instead of you reading your temperature at like 97.7, you're gonna read it at 97.78. So it's a lot more accurate. So if you do have a significant drop in temperature, it's going to check that. So how I do it is first thing in the morning, and this is what's recommended. First thing in the morning, before you even get out of bed, before you brush your teeth, before you go to the bathroom, you're going to grab your thermometer that you have on the side of your bed because you cannot get up to get it. If you want the most accurate read. So you want to grab your thermometer and go ahead and take your temperature. And I don't worry too much about recording the temperature in my Flow app immediately just because it does save. And usually when I'm waking up, it's because I have to use the restroom. So I want to do it at the most accurate time for me. I usually wake up around like 4:30ish. So I'll take my temperature at that time. Now, if I go back to bed, that's cool. but I take my temperature at that time. It's the most consistent for me because I know I'm always going to wake up at that time and I'm not going to be running around. I don't know how it affects my temperature when I wake up at 6 if I go back to sleep. And that's such an inconsistent thing that I do that I just rather take it when I wake up my first time at 4:30. And so I'll go ahead and do that, record it in my phone on the Flow app. And I love it because it'll show you a graph of your temperatures, and it also syncs it up with ovulation. So I'll see, my numbers may go up and down very slightly, but I may have a drastic temperature drop. So instead of me having like a 94 degree, temperature reading, I might get a 92, or a 93 point something, and my app is so good that it will track that. Also, if I have any dips, I can see where those dips are. I can see what time I've taken it. And then, so it's really helpful because then I'll be able to see when I actually do have that drastic drop. If I was tech savvy, I would put a photo in here, but I'm not the most tech savvy person. But it's really helpful. I put it in my Flow app. I've also tried the Thermometer app. Personally, I prefer Flow because it was much more accurate for me, and I get everything that I got with Thermometer, but for free with Flow. So that's what I prefer. But for tracking my basal body temperature, funny enough, I have a thermometer by Thermometer. So I love it. It's great. It's my second one because I lost my original one. But I love it, y'all. It's great. It's pink. I love pink. And that's what I use to track it temperature wise. Typically, I do not track my temperature when I'm on my period just because I know I'm not going to be ovulating on my period and my temperature is typically higher on my period. I don't really worry about it. Usually, I start tracking somewhere between day 7 to day 10 of my cycle. So that's, 7 to 10 days after the start of my period. And that's what works for me. I typically ovulate around day 15. So it's enough of a window for me to get all of that in. So that's what works for me. What I will say, when you are tracking it, you're going to want to start out with your day 1 of your cycle until you know your body well enough and you're comfortable enough to start after your cycle ends and you kind of know what day you ovulate. If you have a more inconsistent period, or you ovulate more inconsistently, or if you drink wine, coffee, exercise, basically, just things like that may affect when you ovulate. It may make you ovulate earlier or towards the end of your cycle. I highly recommend that you start tracking your period on your cycle day 1. That way there's no oopsie, okay, if I ovulate a few days after my period, I can catch it, So that is my one little tidbit there that I highly recommend. And then the second thing that I do is I use an OPK, so Ovulation Predictor Kit. I use the Up and Up brand. I was using Clear Blue because I typically swear by Clear Blue, but one day I went to go get some more and they were sold out. Used Up and Up because it was the only other thing there, and I have not gone back since. I love it. I don't even remember what my Clear Blue tests were like. I know they're more expensive, but I know with my Up and Up brands, you get the OPK, and what I've noticed is my days leading up to my period, the line gets darker. So it's not like the typical strips that you get in like a pack of 50, like you can find on like Amazon or something like that. But you do get quite a few. And if you're tracking your ovulation by using your basal body temperature, you know what days you should really start to, you know, track your ovulation with the OPK. The other thing that I also was using and I still use to this day is my Flow app. It'll tell me days before, hey, you're entering into your fertile window. So once I get a few days out, I would recommend maybe 4 to 5 days out from your predicted ovulation date. I recommend you start taking that OPK. So typically, if you ovulate, 5 days out from when you start, you're going to get a big fat negative and you're only going to get one line. But as you get closer, and this is just specifically for the Up and Up brand, my experience, your negatives will continue to happen, but that ovulation line is going to continue to get darker until you do ovulate, and then boom, you're good to go. You confirmed it. And it's typically either a day, for me, it's either a day before, the day of, or the day after that I get the strong line. So that's what works for me, because then what I do is compare it to my CM or cervical mucus. So after your period, you're typically not producing any. Obviously, you have some inside, but it's not going to be on your panty line or anything like that. So also what I noticed at that same window leading up to ovulation, I'll start to get cervical mucus. So you might see anything from sticky to more creamy to egg white and then to watery or any other kind of discharge. So what you're going to be looking for is when that sticky one happens, it's usually right after your period. When the creamier one happens, it's typically you're getting into your fertile window. That's your body's way of saying, all right, fertile window, we're good to go. And then egg white is the most fertile, CM that you're going to get. And it's very great for the sperm to swim. I'm trying to use the proper phrasing, but my brain is going blank. But it's the most fertile. It's the, most ideal. That's when you want to inseminate. And then you may also have a more watery egg white one. So it's a lot more watery than your typical egg white mucus, but they're so similar that it's kind of hard to tell the difference. But the watery one is the one that's going to actually be on your underwear when you check. So not everybody has all of the wateriness, and you may not even get a change in your CM depending on your body. So that's why I do multiple ways of tracking. But for me, when I do ovulate, that's going to be the day where I have the most egg white CM. And that's also what I use to confirm with the temperature, with that drop in basal body temperature, and the strongest positive for my OPK. And what else? Oh, yeah, that is the fourth thing. And my Flow app. So that is what I use. And then obviously following your ovulation, it'll decrease, it'll be a lot less, and you'll start getting negatives on everything else. Your temperature is going to go back to its regular temp, and your body will get ready to either fertilize or get ready for its period. If you are pregnant, the other thing that you'll see is that your basal body temperature will stay up, typically. And one thing that I did notice last time around is I continued to have that watery CM the entire time instead of it going away. So that's also something that you're going to want to think about and pay attention to. And that's really it. Like, that's really it that I've done or that I do to track my ovulation. So, hopefully, I answered your questions. If you have any more questions, obviously, please put them in the comment box down below. If I wasn't clear about anything or if I missed something, please let me know. I will be more than happy to answer that. But yeah, I will see you all next week.